Hey, folks. These guys are just going to talk the whole night, aren't they? June 28th. Did I get the date right? I think that's right. Cool. Good. Right. Links as usual. Sponsor Micropython if you can. Guys, can you be a little bit quieter? AJ? Quieter? Trying to talk. No, it's right. It's really distracting. It's just noisy in here. Jim's already gone, so this is all so I can go away. Barry, thanks in advance. There is a note though, the Meetup videos, we've started publishing them to the Micropython official channel. And yes, there is now the Micropython official channel. Thank you, Damien, for getting that all sorted out. At some point, I'll create a playlist so the Meetup videos will be separate from the rest of the channel. That's not in place at the moment, so just go check them out. There's links in, I created a discussion issue in Micropython, and I track all the links, and I also post that to Discord, so should be able to find the videos pretty easily. If not, let me know. Headlines. The big one, I guess, was that BLE is now available on PKW. This was a long time coming, and yes, AIO BLE works as well, which is a module that works at sort of a higher level to get you really good Bluetooth access on these devices. The PR's there, you can have a look at it, but it's yeah, it was a bit of a long gestation period, I suppose, on this one. So it was really good to get that in. I don't know if you had any comments there, Damien, because I know you spent a lot of time on this.
No. Well, yeah. Just try it out.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone go use it. Just mentioned PyCon AU. Damien, Jim, and I have all had proposed talks and have had them accepted, which is great. We've got some Micropython content at PyCon AU, which is on the 18th of August. It runs across a weekend if you're interested in going. I think pre-release tickets are still out. Don't know how much they cost. Looks paying for mine. Well, actually, as a presenter, we get them paid for us. It does mean that next month, at least, I probably won't do the news roundup just because I need to actually spend some time working on these slides. So, yeah, looking for anyone else who wants to present. I have got a gentleman in mind to do one talk next week. There's still a slot or two open if people want to give any talks or wants to do a news roundup to take my spot. That would be really great. If so, come and ping me later. The talks there are, Damien's talking about a decade of MicroPython. Jim's going to talk a bit about WASM, which is sort of MicroPython adjacent, looking at using WASM in some of the infrastructure of MicroPython. And I'm talking about, well, mine's titled, You Can't Do That in MicroPython, talking about the things that I'm often told that you can't do in MicroPython, but many of us here know a lot of those topics. It's not exactly the full story. You can often do a lot more than people expect. So yeah, if you can make it along, please do. Damien, I'd also like, if possible, if we can make like the Monday or the Tuesday, we've got the potential to do like a, I can't remember what they call it, but there's like the fair or a sprint or whatever they call it. So I don't know if you're going to be there for the Monday, but I'm going to try and organize that if that makes sense. You got the kids back there. Keep going. Last month we talked about Espressif features, and in particular, a big one that we should know about is that IDF version 5 has been merged. So we're actually leaving IDF 4 behind. So that won't be supported in new releases of MicroPython. It's just too difficult to support both the 4.x branch of development and the 5.x. It's hard enough just supporting 5.x. But we achieved, or Damien did all the hard work here, achieving feature parity with 4.x. And specifically it's with 5.0.2. So if you're trying to build, that's the version you'll need. 5.0, 5.0.1 will not build. Yeah. So yeah, there's a few things to worry about there. The nightlies already are built with version 5. If you've got ESP devices and you use them very much, please test if you can, especially if you're maintaining or if you have MicroPython libraries that you use regularly. That'd be really helpful. It's worth noting that the C6 is not supported yet. That requires IDF 5.1, which actually hasn't been released yet. It's still in development. And just as a refresher, if you want to go have a look at a video by one of the VPs of development, why they've sort of what's new in 5.0 and why they've decided to introduce some breaking changes. So there's quite a lot of work to move from 4 to 5, but it should future-proof us, and yeah, move on. That's new hardware, my favorite part. We talked about the Seed Sense Cap Indicator D1 and the Xiao ESP32S3 Sense. So I can't see my screen, there it is. So that's what the Sense Cap Indicator D1 looks like. It's a beautifully large and clear screen. Cap Touch, this is just running the demo software that comes with it. I haven't done anything with this device yet. Just as a refresher, it's got an ESP32S3 and an RP2040 on it. You can get it optionally with LoRa and optionally with environmental sensors. There's 3 different models, 4 different models, because you can get one with all of the things. This one just has it's the bare bones one. It feels pretty well built. It's light but well built. Industrial design is quite neat. People here can play with it and see what they think. I think for 49 US, it's a pretty good little display and little device. So looking forward to getting Micropython on. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got this tiny little thing, which is the latest in the Xiao rack. And it's broken. Yep, the latest in the Xiao range. It's really hard to hold. So it's an ESP32S3. I can't remember the flash and memory configuration. Somewhere. Sorry, Robert, I'm just going to pop you on mute. Unless you're trying to talk, in which case, take yourself off mute. It comes with like a little daughter board, so I don't know if you can see that. But one of the things we talked about with the ESP32S3 Sense Xiao is that it's got a high density header at the bottom here with 30 pins broken out. And it wasn't really clear what they were going to do with that. Well, what they were going to do with that is plug in a camera to it with one of these high density headers that matches. And so it's quite a neat little system to give you a 1600 by 1200 camera that you can plug into it. Now, Micropython doesn't have the support for this. There are instances of people connecting to these cameras, but there's no official support for this camera. So we need to do a little bit of work there to expose it. But if you work hard enough, you can do it. It's also compatible with, so the little plug at the bottom here with the cameras connected to, that's a standard plug for it's a OV5140 or something. It's a higher res camera as well. So you can get one of those cameras which costs only a few dollars and plug in something that's even higher resolution if you want to. There's also a little microphone. It's really hard to see, but it's on that little daughter board as well. So this thing has, camera and mic and a very grunty Wi-Fi and Bluetooth compatible processor for US $14. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's here for people to noodle about with as well. I should note that it's also one of the few ESP32S3s that have a wireless external antenna. So it comes with it, but they're quite large and they come off with a little dongly wire. But pretty neat little device. You might remember there's a whole range of these Xiaos now, so I've got them, most of them here, so you can have a look at them. But there's a SAMD, RP2040, and NRF52840. Yeah. Oh, I also stumbled on the Seed forum, which is actually quite active. Lots of people asking questions, quite a few of them Micropython related. So yeah, I'll try and spend some time there. The Core S3, right? Okay, so we talked about this last month. Fancy little box. We were trying to do I2S testing for Damien's 5.x branch, for the IDF 5.x branch. I couldn't get it to work. And there's a few notes here. If you've got one of these devices, might help if you look through them. And I will eventually get I2S working on it, but it wasn't simple. Mostly because the amp is a separate peripheral. It's actually off by default, and you've got to connect to a different peripheral, which is a GPIO extender, which controls the power to the I2S amp. So you can turn it on, and then it appears on the I2C bus. I2C allows you to configure how you want the device to be used. Once you stream I2S to it, it wasn't coming out. So I've obviously got some settings wrong in the I2S amp. But if someone's got one of these and wants to have a stab at getting I2S coming out of the speaker on that thing, please let me know. I've got some scripts that will get you halfway there anyway. More hardware news. This is quite recent. It was in the last couple of days, but Arduino released their Uno R4, which is in their Arduino Uno form factor. It uses one of those Renesas RA4M1s, which I'm pretty sure we've got support for that model in Micropython. There's also a CharliePlex LED array here. There's a quick connector on it. It's $20 or $27.50 if you get it with an ESP32S3 on it for Wi-Fi. Now, the ESP32 on this thing is, orders of magnitude more powerful than the actual core. So it's an unusual setting. It's really done for compatibility with Arduino shields. I've never really understood the Arduino world, and this one makes no sense at all to me, but I'm sure Arduino people are interested in this. At least it brings them up to a 32-bit micro with it's at least decent. And you really can't fault their marketing as well. Their website's beautiful, their board layout's really nice, and their docs are great. So, but
yeah, they've got a beautiful LED array that's going to sit underneath your shield so you can plug in.
Yeah, I don't understand how it does this, but yeah, that's okay. I'm not their target market, I don't think. LilyGo, this is all thanks to Jim going first. I was able to quickly slot these ones in because LilyGo have just been releasing device after device lately, and it's great because they do support MicroPython pretty well. They always have repositories for their devices. So let's quickly go through them. We've got the T-Deck, which is kind of the fancier one. Kind of looks like a BlackBerry, right? But a keyboard, trackball, display. You can even get LoRa on this thing. And it's $43 US. It packs a fair bit in for the price. ESP32S3, 16 meg flash, 8 meg of RAM. You will see that combination on most of these devices. So yeah, it's also got battery charging. I forgot to mention. The T Touch Bar, it's a small little thing. It's like 11 mil high. It's got a touchscreen on it. And the way they've done it is that there's a single device which thinks it's a square display and it's split over two, just for reference. But it's cute and neat, and it's $26 or $29. You can get a slightly wider one with an AMO LED, which is a bit brighter and a bit punchier. But again, packs a lot of, I'm not sure where the ESP is hiding there, but yeah, packs a lot in. The THMI is one of these displays with the ESP32 behind it. It's the nice thing here is that it's a parallel display, so it should be possible to make that pretty fast. This one's unusual in all the other, compared to all the other devices because it's resistive touch, and it's designed so you can use a little stylus with it. But $18 US. The T-Watch, I've got one of their, I can't see myself, but I've got one of their older T-Watches. Apparently they use the same, what do you call it? The same design, the same outer wear, but this one they've upgraded the processor and they've put LoRa on board. They've still got the 3-axis sensor. They've got a haptic motor in it now. This one doesn't have that. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff sitting inside a device which is relatively small. A big watch, $42.
Carlos asks, is MicroPython running on the LilyGo watch? Is that an official port from LilyGo or something we can build from upstream MicroPython for unofficial ports?
What you're seeing there is not MicroPython, but MicroPython is supported on this device. There's also a couple of people that are working on watches or watch software that's running in MicroPython. So there's WASP OS, which is actually NRF based, but there are people also trying to port that to ESP32 as well. So there's a few people converging on making this watch work with MicroPython. TRS-C3, so this is different to the other ones. ESP32 C3, so cheaper brother of the S3, just 4 meg flash, and it's got one purpose in life, and that's to connect to RS-232 and RS-485 devices. Highly isolated, quite neat because you could speak Wi-Fi to this thing, which is off in some lab somewhere. So for the people that need RS-232 or 485, quite a neat little device. Right, that was the LilyGo stuff. Particle, who are known for doing a lot of IoT devices, launched the Photon 2 quite recently. The guts of this thing's an RTL 8271DM, which is one of those dual band radios. So it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but it operates at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Tons of grunt, not clear. I didn't finish this one. Also available as a module. You can actually buy the modules themselves as well as the boards. The modules are roughly the same price, a couple of dollars difference. Most of the guts is in that module. I haven't really gotten up to speed with what Particle are intending to do with this. They're usually pretty good at putting together like websites to deploy firmware to their devices. But Amoeba, which is the division of Realtek that are responsible for this, the software for these chips, has a port. It's fairly immature, but they do have a port that targets this device. So maybe we could use these. Software news. DeviceScript was announced recently. It's a Microsoft internal project. There's just a couple of guys in Microsoft that are working on DeviceScript. It's a TypeScript for microcontrollers. So this is another one of the MicroPython competitors that have come out. There's pros and cons for this. If you like TypeScript, that's great. There's not much hardware support and there's not a lot of features yet, but they're pretty rapidly adding them. The good news is there's a lot of TypeScript itself is actually pretty well supported. So that's pretty cool. And the other thing they've done is they've got great extension support in VS Code. So you've got debugging support. You've got like a simulator that simulates devices connected to it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can see there's questions or people commenting. Anything? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it works. Yeah, don't know. I believe so. Yeah, I believe it's a similar thing. They talk about having a VM, so I guess it's similar to Micropython. I'm not sure. Haven't deployed it yet. And yes, Carlos, they do integrate JackDAC. I don't get JackDAC because no one seems to be absorbing it or talking about it except for Microsoft. But yeah, no. JackDAC's kind of like a I2C compatibility thing, if I understand right. I'm sorry, I'm just quickly looking through the comments because then I should be looking at. I think it's okay. Oliver, can you keep an eye on that chat and see if there's anything I should stop? I don't know. Thank you. The next thing was Linux on ESP32S3. So this has happened in the last week or two, I guess. People have figured out that you can get Linux running on these things. We'll worry about the why later, but the instructions are pretty clear. It looks pretty straightforward to do. And Rudy, who, if you've spent much time in the Espressif ecosystem, is prolific. I'm not sure he works for Espressif, but he certainly tweets and does a lot of stuff with the embedded world. But he started looking at putting MicroPython running on Linux on one of these ESP32s. And the reason for that is because it's great in low memory environments and they wouldn't be able to fit full Python on, I guess. He's also looked at how you can change GPIOs. He wants to get the ULP exposed, and he would love to have a machine module for the Unix port running on Linux on the ESP32S3, which would be, I mean, I still can't figure out what you would do with it, but yeah, it's a little weird, but I mean, it's really cool. I'd really like to try and do it. So if anyone's got a spare weekend, there you go, there's one to consider. We covered Tulip, it was a couple months ago, which was a project by Brian Whitman to get a creative computer involved. And so he'd taken a fork of MicroPython, he'd added graphics support. So at the REPL, you could draw on the screen that the REPL was being rendered on. It was all open source, really, really interesting project, quite a creative project in its own right. But the way he'd forked MicroPython made it difficult to keep in touch with upstream. But just as of yesterday, I saw that he had added MicroPython as a submodule into his project. And that was all possible because of the fact it's now built off IDF5. He was looking at doing that transition as well, and so it was just easier for him to make this change. So this is great news because it's more in line with how we would want a third party to build with MicroPython. So that's great. Very excited to see what he does with that. Ink plate, we talked about last month or the month before, sorry, specifically the ink plate 5. There's a whole range of these ink plates by the company called Soldered. They have gotten funded. I think it's about 60 US, 59 US, something like that for one of these guys. It's a nice product. I've got one of their 6-inch models you can come have a look at. All right, straight into quick bites. Alex Waygood talks about the Python language summit, which was held at around the same time as PyCon, just before it. If you're interested in the Python language and where that's headed, some really interesting talks. Guido talks at that. Brett Cannon talks at that. Yeah, a whole bunch of interesting stuff going on there. That write-up is really good. M5 Stack was used. Raf, I know you'll be interested in this. It was interfaced to a model airplane transmitter. I'll show you a video in a sec. And there's another one with a galactic unicorn, which I'll also show in a sec. If the video will play. Hey, might. So this is the M5 Stack connected to a airplane thingo. This, to be fair, this is not Micropython, but the way it's interfaced is really nice. I think we should do that. It's really cool. Next one was the galactic unicorn. If anyone's seen Simone Giertz, she had a big display which she called the everyday calendar, where she was trying to click off when she did something each day. And this one's the same sort of thing. Each square is meant to represent a day in a year, and so you can tick off when you've done your yoga or done whatever you're trying to do regularly. And it's got cool animations and sound. So this is Micropython. I don't know how to stop it. Neil's going to have it. Is the share still in place? No. No? Yes. Maybe. Cool. Okay. There is apparently no way that I can. Oh, final thoughts. Speaking of galactic unicorns, last time we looked at this crazy array of them to play Pong. Remember that? One, because we've got a bit of an update. This was the first update, which was matrix thing going on, which is pretty cool over so many LEDs. And then their first attempt at getting actual Pong to work. But they got it backwards a little bit on a couple of displays.
Well, yeah. So yeah, need to.
You'll see when they try to hit the ball. It's super hard to play this one.
Yeah, they're excited. Yeah.
But in their defense, they did fix this. So I feel like we're going on a journey with them. But they did get it working.
No. How long's your Pong? But it's not as long as this Pong.
Anyway, engineers.
No.
And what's it called? What's the image generation thing called? It's Midjourney. Midjourney, when asked about putting a Python on a microchip, this is what it came up with. So the AI engines are doing some pretty impressive stuff. I just thought that was cute. So I think that's where I've got. That's the end of it for me today. Those screens are cool.